For actor Aaron Lazar, receiving an ALS diagnosis signaled the conclusion of a difficult journey. The 47-year-old stage veteran, who is well known for his 20 years of Broadway roles and his tours in musicals such as Les Misérables, A Little Night Music, and The Light in the Piazza, made his degenerative neurogenerative illness public knowledge known in January. Additionally, he talks candidly about his relief upon receiving the formal diagnosis from the physicians in this week's People issue. "My worst period was during the diagnosis phase," remembers Lazar, who currently resides in Los Angeles with his 2 boys from his first marriage, Adrian, age 12, and Julian, age 14, as well as his 47-year-old fiancée, Nawal Bengholem, whom he first met in 2020. "That was a horrible moment, but this is really hard right now. Some of the hardest adversity I've ever encountered is facing my own mortality and mental fear," he continues. Every year in the United States, ALS affects around 5,000 new individuals and is a brutal disease with no known cure. Johns Hopkins Medicine describes Lou Gehrig's disease, better known as ALS, as characterized by progressive degeneration of nerve cells in the spinal cord and brain. Hand, foot, arm, or leg spasms and weakness are common early symptoms of the condition. Loss of motor control in the hands and arms and impairment in the use of the arms and legs are typical symptoms that worsen over time, according to Johns Hopkins Medicine. In the end, people with ALS become prisoners in their own bodies, unable to swallow, move, speak, or eventually breathe. Lazar's quad twitches started in the summer of 2021, marking the beginning of his symptoms. "I googled it and ALS came up pretty quick and I said, 'Are you kidding me?'" says Lazar. "I became aware of ALS when my Aunt Anita, who was my uncle's wife and not related by blood, passed away from the disease when I was in my 20s. And then my friend Rebecca Luker had died from it a year earlier. I said to myself, I need to see a neurologist right away. It can be challenging to diagnose ALS. It is typically necessary to do many tests and evaluate multiple symptoms because many neurologic illnesses have similar symptoms." According to Lazar, obtaining an appointment with a renowned ALS physician also requires a referral from a neurologist. Thus, it was evident that Lazar would not be visiting an ALS specialist when his neurologist diagnosed him with benign fasciculation cramp syndrome, a nerve ailment in which you experience frequent muscle twitches without having an underlying medical condition, according to the Cleveland Clinic. He did an EMG test, the electromyography test that they used as a diagnostic tool, and said, "You don't have ALS," Lazar narrates. "Since then, I've discovered that he was correct. Since I was only experiencing one symptom at the time, he was unable to diagnose me with ALS medically. But there was something about it, I'm not sure. In my heart, I didn't truly believe him." Lazar so sought a second opinion, this time from a UCLA physician. He was diagnosed with benign fasciculation cramp syndrome once more. According to Lazar, he said, "It's not ALS and it won't turn into ALS." Though many people's anxieties may have been allayed by 2 matching determinations, Lazar was left to live with constant muscle spasms as if they were normal, which was a nightmare in and of itself. "You can't sleep at night when your whole body's twitching, and that's literally all you can focus on," he claims. "It began to frighten me. It was frightening, and I let despair, worry, and insomnia to rule my life. That turned into the summer's excursion. I had to identify the issue since it wasn't sustainable." Lazar was eventually persuaded after receiving the same diagnosis from a third medical opinion. "After the third neurologist confirmed it, I said to myself, I'm going to move on from this. I'm going on," he declares. "And I started to piece my life back together." Later that December, while out for a jog, Lazar became aware that his left foot was striking the pavement with greater force than his right. It dawned on him that he had a foot drop. Foot drop, as another ALS symptom, is defined by difficulty lifting the front part of the foot, according to the Mayo Clinic. After then, everything happened much more quickly. After seeing a specialist, he was able to get another EMG, and this time, 6 months later, the results were consistent with ALS. After that, he saw Dr. Matthew B. Harms at Columbia University in New York City, where he had a half-day of testing that included a spinal tap to look for rare cancer, breathing tests, electroshock testing, and a 2-hour EMG. The actor chuckles, "I never thought I'd be wishing for cancer." Get the best of people, from celebrity news to gripping human interest stories, sent straight to your inbox by subscribing to their free daily newsletter. Lazar had slow-moving ALS, as determined by Dr. Harms, in January 2022, more than 2 years ago. Even though Lazar has subsequently suffered from the physical consequences of ALS, he now uses a cane, walker, or motorized scooter to get around. The filthy rich actor is continuing to live his life with unflinching hope and confidence that he will recover. "Once the diagnosis came, I made the decision, I'm not living whatever life I have left afraid," he recounts. "Because doing it the other way while I was waiting to find out what this was just too hard. You know, before all of this, I really pushed myself to be the greatest. I wanted to be the best actor, the best spouse, the best father, etc. I was constantly afraid of things like, what if I disappoint so-and-so? What if that big job doesn't happen?" says Lazar. "I understand what trauma does to a person. This is a nerve system illness. How can I possibly make my body feel better if I'm putting pain through the nerves that link my brain to my body?" Get the most recent issue of People, out now on newsstands, to learn more about Aaron Lazar.